And the one statistic that's always stood out for me about Halloween is that pedestrians are 50% more likely to die on Halloween than any other day of the year. So, parents, you have to have the conversation with your children about how to safely go trick-or-treating. And you actually look at the research, the hours upon hours that I spent this weekend, is what is the proper age for when a child can go by themselves. And most experts say it's 13. 13 and up, they can go. And I say by themselves, I mean in a group of friends. No one needs to go trick-or-treating by themselves. That's one of the big safety rules out there, is never go alone. But you've got to have the conversation with your kids to, go through these basics. Cross the street at a corner, at the traffic light. Have a flashlight or, a chem light, something that's reflective to make you easier to be seen by automobiles. Always watch out for cars.
Halloween is a big deal for us because in our business, we unfortunately see kids getting hurt.
Yep.
Because kids are excited about candy and running around, and parents are lax many times. So many times it's not the parents' fault, but sometimes it's just the parents just drop them off.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with that is that it's a tragedy not only for the child but for the entire family. I mean, they blame themselves, and so it's a big deal for us. So we ask them, what do you do when you get a bag full of candy? Everybody says, eat it.
Yep.
Before you eat it, what do you do? And so we're finding out that it's a lot easier to get kids to do the right thing than adults sometimes.
Yeah.
So it is a labor of love. I mean, if we lose our voice going from school to school doing it, but if we can prevent one tragedy, it's well worth it.
Yep. Tell your kids to stay on a sidewalk. Kids invariably want to ring the doorbell, get candy, and then just going to run across a front lawn to the next house. Well, you never know. Is there a hole? Is there a dip? Is there a dog chew toy sitting in the yard that you're going to hit and fall, break an ankle, break a leg? So the other thing is remind your kids, to follow sidewalks, because some people just don't want their kids running across a lawn, but that's a really important thing as well. But you got to be safe. You hit the nail on the head, Richard. Kids are so excited, and I know there's discussion because Halloween technically is next Monday, but I think some neighborhoods are doing it next weekend. So a lot comes up to drivers. Drivers have to realize that day is just such a different animal with regard to the number of children that are going to be out there on the streets. And I know some start trick-or-treating at 5 o'clock, which is great. It's still daylight. But we've had trick-or-treaters show up at our house before at 8:30 at night, and it's pitch black outside. So as a driver, you've got to have that higher sense of duty and understand if I'm driving through a neighborhood, I better be going super slow, and my head better be on a swivel because I never know where a child's going to come darting out from a sidewalk.
You're exactly right, and your liability is really heavy. I mean, as you well know, darting cases and where you got to expect the unexpected from a child, and you become liable. And actually, Mississippi, I think, what's the age? You can't even be negligent up to a certain age. What is that?
The
age?
rule of sevens.
Yeah.
So up to 7 years of age, you are incapable of being negligent. And then I think it's 8 to 14, you're presumed maybe to not be negligent. And then after that, you can be. And I think like Patrick said and like Richard said, especially on Halloween when you're out trick-or-treating, you probably are under, a heightened sense, a heightened duty, because you are intimately aware that there are going to be kids running around in the streets, on the streets, near the streets. And so I think if you were to not pay attention or drive recklessly, I think you're going to get tagged with clear liability in that case, because you ought to know that there's going to be kids running around, and there are a lot of young kids. So you've got to be smart. You've got to be aware. You've got to keep a lookout to avoid that, not only to avoid causing injury to somebody, but also to avoid liability on your own part.